evening. Good evening. We are back with another episode of the Round Table. I'm your host, Sandra B, and I'm back with another special guest. Tonight I have Lester Howard with us, and I'm going to let him tell you exactly who he is and some things that he got going on in the big town of Greenville, North Carolina. But Lester, tell the people who you are, sir.
Well, my name is Lester Howard, as I've already been introduced. I am a native of Charlotte, North Carolina. Greenville has been my home since 1995. Have family ties here, which is a large part of the reason that I came back to the East. Currently peer support specialist for Agape Health Services in Washington, North Carolina. I'm also a community health worker, and I work with a reentry program as well to help incarcerated or formerly incarcerated individuals reacclimate into society, trying to get them the tools that they need that are necessary to not recidivate. Beyond that, I'm a father, and I think I'm an all-around pretty good guy. I would like to think so.
Think you are too. Like seriously, I hear a lot of giving back, doing good things for the community, and that's what it's all about.
Definitely.
So tonight, y'all, I got Lester on tonight because he is, in my opinion, and y'all will see, he's a great example of how you take a setback and turn it to a comeback. A lot of people take situations, big or small, and I think they give it so much power that they let it limit what they're set out to do. Yeah. And Lester is going to tell us about his journey, how he did not allow his setback to keep him back, how he turned it into his story of comeback. So, I mean, gosh, where should we start, Lester?
It's funny that you asked that, because that, as I was sharing this podcast with a few friends, the question that I kept saying was, I don't have a script or any prompts. So if she asks to tell my story, like what chapter, what verse, what the Old Testament or the New Testament, like it's a lot to tell. So I don't know.
But let's start with, okay, like we don't have to get into what you got locked up for, none of that. But let's start with before.
So.
I want you to be comfortable. So let's start before that. Like, where were you at in life? Like, before the lockup.
Real quickly, I was raised in a two-parent home, and I'm prefacing this for a reason. My mom and dad worked. We lived in a very safe, tight-knit community. Everybody could check everybody's kids. We literally could play in the street till the street lights came on. If it was the summertime or a weekend, we had a little more leverage, things that we could do. We would fight in the middle of the street and be friends, walking to the candy lady the next minute. Like, this was the lifestyle that I grew up in. I like to joke that, we played with birds and squirrels, and all the animals loved us in my neighborhood. It was like it was a fairy tale land for us. So there was no situation that I found myself in that led me to the place that I ultimately chose. When all my friends graduated high school, some went off to college, some went off to the military. I, for some reason, was fixated and enamored with the bad boy lifestyle. I don't know if it was the music I was listening to, or if it was the movies that I had seen, or maybe if it was the fact that I had been bullied, when I was younger. But for whatever reason, I gravitated to a lifestyle that was not conducive to what I grew up in. And I made a lot of poor decisions based on that. And the more poor decisions I made, the more adamant I was about proving my street credibility or proving who I was. And I ultimately made some choices that cost me my freedom, that cost me my sobriety, that cost me friendships, that hurt a lot of people. And that's how, I ended up on that path, Jesus. I'm sorry, let me... shucks. How do I put this note? I'm on my
You fine.
I don't know how to work it.
It's okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of what led me to that place of indecision, where I started hustling, selling drugs. Crack had just hit, right? Because I know y'all probably wondering, what is he talking about? Because he surely is a 90s baby. I know, thank y'all for that in advance. But I was born a long time ago. So when I graduated high school, crack had just hit especially in the South. So 88, 89, 90, this was a new thing. Nobody knew the long-term or lasting effects of what cocaine, specifically crack cocaine, would do. And so a lot of people chose to hustle and not realizing that, we're in the experimental age as teenagers. So some people felt like, hey, I want to try and see what it's like. And some people never recovered from that. I was the guy who started off hustling and then started dabbling, and then the hustle turned into more dabbling. Before you know it, the hustle was gone and it was all dabbling. And so, it just led me down some dark paths. And I was involved in a gang at the time. And during that time, gangs were more about protection within your own communities. Like, we formed organizations, as we call them. Police will call them gangs. We call them organizations that, we could protect ourselves in our own communities. So if other people came from outside trying to sell drugs in our community, trying to harm somebody in our community, our job was to protect our community. But then, we were the good guys by day, and at night we was criminals like the rest of the criminals. So all those things led to, again, a series of bad decisions. And ultimately, through the gang affiliation and some different things like that, I ultimately was involved, or not involved, but in this instance, I participated in an active shooting back in Charlotte. And I was at first put on probation. And because I did not get punished severely in the beginning, I felt like I was above the law, like I could just do whatever. And that led to more criminal activity. And ultimately, I violated my probation and had to do active time. From there, I got out. Then I ended up right back in because I didn't learn a lesson, right? I thought, hey, I'm that guy. Everybody was cheering me on. And I felt like, I wasn't done with the streets, or the streets wasn't done with me. So I think it was 45 days maybe before I committed another crime. And I ended up back in the system. But the second time around, my mom and my dad and my sister and my aunts and my family, they were supporting me the first time around, writing me letters, coming to visit. Second time around, it's like, you must have liked something. That's what my dad would say. You got somebody in there you trying to get back to? Like, what you got going on? Who gets out and goes right back? Like, so I just wasn't in the headspace that I needed to be in. And that second time around, I realized how many people I hurt, and family, because a lot of people don't know, when you're doing time, your family's doing time with you.
Right.
You out there on the streets using, your family's using right with you. Your mom's sitting by the phone, your wife, your auntie, your sister waiting, your brothers, your dads, wondering if this is going to be that call. Wondering if this is going to be that time that you don't make it home. And for some people, for me, they were at peace when I got locked up, because at least I know where he is now. At least I know that he's not out here in the streets laying in some gutter somewhere. So I had to make some hard choices that second time around. And I was in Islam. I practiced Islam at the time. It'd been about 8 years in. And toward the end of my second sentence, some things about my relationship with God became, I wouldn't say questionable, but I just had some voids that I felt like weren't being filled. And so my pursuit to understand myself on a deeper spiritual level began while I was still incarcerated. And I got out in February of 95. And through my mom basically making me go to church, and my little cousin, who was 8 years old at the time, Jaron Jones is his name, he questioned me when I was doing my prayer. I put my cloth down, I pointed toward the east, all the things that we do in Islam. And he was like, why you got to pray like that? And an 8-year-old stumped me. I couldn't answer his question. And if it
Mm.
would have been anybody else, I could have just easily ripped off a bunch of reasons why.
Right, right,
I couldn't answer this child's question.
right.
It was baffling to him as well as it was to me. And that Sunday morning, I went to church and I heard a sermon. It was February the 5th, 1995. It was an 8 o'clock service. I'll never forget it. Bishop Randy Royal, rest in peace to Bishop Royal. He preached from a subject: why sink when you can swim? I will never forget that sermon. And somehow or another, I ended up at that altar when they made the call. I don't even remember getting up out of my seat. I just remember the freedom that I felt. And I gave my life to Christ on that day. And a lot of people questioned it. How do you go from Islam? You were never truly a Muslim if you converted to Christianity. Well, I'll let y'all argue over that.
Right.
But just know that, like the man that was born blind, I can't speak as to whether Jesus is a sinner or not. I'm not going to debate that, is what this young man said. But there are two things that are evident. I was blind, and now I see. That's all I had, right? I can't explain it to you. I'm not getting ready to get deep or philosophical. All I know is the freedom that I have been seeking since I was incarcerated, I finally found. And from that point, I jumped head first into ministry, trying to find my purpose. And that purpose has led me to this present moment. I don't want to I don't know if you got to ask me another question or, but yeah.
I have the questions ready, but I mean, I'm delivering some of them as you're talking because you're hitting some of them on the head. But I did want to, as far as your journey, I wanted to ask, do you feel like your foundation is what helped you take this situation and turn it around, or was it the support and the things that you got into coming out of the time that you did?
It was a combination of things, because there was purpose in me. My dad used to always tell me that if you ever was to use your gifts for the right reasons, you would be an amazing leader. You just lead people down the wrong path. So that thing that people see now, it was always there. Right. Irie has a song called Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. And in that song, she says, it's been inside of you all along. Right. And that's what I believe. For me, it just took me going to hell and back. My hope today is that my story will help somebody not have to go to hell and back to find their strength, courage, and wisdom. Some people say experience is the best teacher. I say somebody else's experience can be the best. You don't have to use drugs to know that you don't need. You don't have to go to prison, or you know what I mean. Hey, sometimes I can look at somebody else's hand burn on that stove. I don't have to touch that stove. I know it burns. I'm good with that. So
I take your word for it, right?
yeah. We're gonna do it that way. So it was a combination of family. I had unwavering support from my family, and by that I mean to say a mother whose love was unconditional and a father's love who was tough. It wasn't just that everybody bit to my will or cowered to my place of or position of sympathy or empathy. My dad was like, I'm not getting ready to be running up down that road. You want to be in prison? That's on you. I'll see you when I see you. We did this dance with you the first time around, and then you went right back, and you had no reason to. So the tough love from him, the compassion from my mom, the support of my sister and my aunts and family, that created a safe space for me to land. Right. And then the connection with a church, a spiritual family that didn't judge me. Well, some of them could have. I don't know if they did or not. When I first got out, I thought everybody's supposed to tell their business. That's what I thought testifying was. Or I was telling all kind of horror stories. Yeah, and when I shot this person, and when I smoked in, folks looking at me like, who is this guy? And I'm thinking, I thought we was all in here telling our business. No, so I had to learn the testimony part. I had to figure that part out. So
the wrong part.
Yeah, dial it back a little bit, Howard. So I just kind of locked in to the support that I had. But most of it was me believing in myself again, and then knowing when to say I'm hurt, knowing when to say I'm lost, knowing when to say I'm confused. Particularly for men, that's not always easy. We were raised to be, you can't cry, You can't show emotion. You have to be this tough guy. And so, I had to find myself again in that respect. And a large part of my development and evolution came from family support, spiritual support, and me committing to the discipline, because it is a discipline. It doesn't mean you're not going to fall or make mistakes, but you have to be committed to change.
Right. And I'm glad that you said that, because a person can have all the support in the world, but if you don't decide in yourself that it's something that you want to change, it
Yeah.
ain't gonna happen. So, I commend you for, taking the self accountability, because that's one thing I feel like a lot of people lack. They blame everything on everybody else. You could have took that situation, and when you got out, you could have blamed everything on the system as to why you can't do this and can't do that. So,
Yeah.
what are some things that you've accomplished since you have, been released from prison?
Well, I've had several businesses. Even when I first got out, I started my own detailing business.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it was very difficult to get a job when I first got out. And if I could get one, it was, it might have paid minimum wage, or it just wasn't enough to sustain.
Right.
But I did get a lot of opportunities and chances from people. One of the bigger opportunities was a gentleman named David Miles that used to own a restaurant here in Greenville called Dave Can Cook. And he was a deacon at my church at the time. Him and Monte Williams, when Monte had Monte's Diner, I worked there. So these were people who were business owners in the community that gave a person like me, who needed a second chance, an opportunity, to get out there and actually go to work. And I had some other jobs, Hicks and Sons. I worked for them for a little while, but I was just trying to find myself. And when I realized that the only true freedom that you're really going to enjoy for the type of person that you are is, creating your own space. So entrepreneurship became a thing at that point. And over time, I realized that, selling phones is cool, because I was in the cell phone industry for a while.
Okay.
But then ultimately, I found my place in the poetry community, because I've been writing since I was like in the third grade, and putting on poetry shows, and getting other people in spaces that they could experience, the healing of words, and the freedom and the liberty of words was something that I was passionate about. And that's what birthed Zion Promotions. That is 14 years old as of right now. We're enjoying this 14th year in this field of spoken word and live music and entertainment and things of that nature. And that's where I thrive the most. I mean, I've had a journey, with that business itself, with ministry, working with youth, and doing lock-ins for teenagers. And I mean, just a host of things. I think my biggest thing was, what did you tear up when you were out there? I ruined the lives of a lot of young people. So I commit myself to repairing as many bridges that I burned for young people to cross.
That's
Um,
a
that's
that's
that. That's the biggest thing.
that's a nice perspective to put it into. Like, that's, yeah, I like that. I
Yeah.
like, you do a lot. I mean, I see you on social media, and you're always doing, things that's positive and trying to help other people. And you that's Zion Productions, right?
I have promotions.
Zion Promotions. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're celebrating 14 years.
Yeah, but now in the celebrating of the 14th year of Zion Promotions, I'm also celebrating the birth of another organization that I've partnered with someone, and that's what's happening now. Zion Promotions is still in the background, it's still alive, but my energy and focus has been pointed in a new direction, an evolutionary type direction. And
Okay.
so you'll see and hear more about this in the coming days and months. But the Badu Lounge is the newest component of my life, and my partner Keys. You'll see us posting and talking about what's coming up in the near future. But we're opening a lounge here in Eastern North Carolina that is going to be committed to the arts, particularly African American arts, but not to be limited to that. But this will include spoken word poetry, jazz, live music, singing, art, particularly showcasing local artists and giving opportunity and space for local artists to hone their craft, as well as bringing in regional national and even some international artists, saxophonists, musicians, like I said, poets, singers. We're going to be touching a large variety of the art form to bring to this area so that people can see that entertainment in this area doesn't have to be limited to a sports bar or a club. And there's nothing wrong with that because, all of us will get out there and shake a tail feather every now and then, watch a football game and eat some chicken wings. But sometimes we want to sit back and just enjoy some solid words or some beautiful music that's played over, a live tempo and just socialize with our friends. We're going to have game nights and karaoke nights and food trucks. And I mean, we're just creating a safe space for adults to be adults.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, that's what we got going on right now.
We don't have a lot. If we do, I don't hear about it. But so we don't have a lot of arts settings like that. And like I said, I like classical music. I like different stuff. I can sit and listen to somebody play just a violin, and we don't have places like that. So I'm excited to see what you're bringing to Eastern North Carolina. Y'all got to come check us out. We doing big things over here.
Yeah. And we're not new to this. We true to this. Ain't that how the young folks used to say it?
He's celebrating 14 years and birthing another, organization from that is awesome. So what did back up a little bit to talk about Zion Promotions? So what was it exclusively for? Like what was the vision and journey with that, and how did it come into what you're doing now?
Well, Zion Promotions was originally created to give artists opportunities to either be managed or to be shaped into the artists that they were seeking to be. So we did artist development as well as artist management. We did bookings for artists that might have all the gifts in the world, but not the resources to get their names out there. So we did a lot with artists from across the state and even up and down Eastern North Carolina's coast and even into other states where we would, connect artists with churches that might be looking for a poet that does clean poetry or Christian poetry or a fraternity or sorority that might need a poet to come and do something special for their organization's event, or somebody that might be getting married and they want a poet to perform a handcrafted piece or something like that. So just connecting artists with opportunity is what Zion Promotions originally started as, and then creating that space again for artists to be able to come and share their gifts. I mean, promotions in that respect is huge because the radio and television and other industries are going to push the R&B artists. They're going to push the gospel artists. They're going to push a different genre, but poetry is sometimes lacks in that area. So I thought it was important to shine a light on that art form and to create as much of a space for artists to be heard and seen as possible. And that's what birthed Zion Promotions, the evolution of Zion Promotions into this vision that my partner and I had was more or less, we see where we've gone with this. How do we take it to the next level? So I'm the OG in the group. I'm the old head, and she's the young trailblazer. So we figured, listen, we can't miss. You know what I mean? Because she has the youthfulness, she has the vigor, she has the passion for it, and I have the wisdom, I have the knowledge, I have the understanding of how the business works. So, God brought us together collectively to come up with this vision for the Badu Lounge. And we this thing has been cooking for a year. Like y'all didn't know this, but this thing has been in the oven for an entire year. And now it's time to introduce it to the world because we just want people to know that your voice is important and what you need to share and where it needs to be shared in a safe space is at the Badu Lounge. We are excited about bringing this to Eastern North Carolina. So
yes,
yeah.
Well, tell them how they can connect with you, like on your social medias. If you got a website or anything like that.
Okay, so me as Zion Promotions or Lester Howard, I have my own website for my book. I do have a book, The Rebirth of Fire. There's a collector's edition that's currently in circulation. Can I post it in this chat, or do you need to post it?
You can post it in Can you post it in the chat?
I
Are you
don't
able
know.
to
I'm
chat?
gonna see.
I can type it up here, but at the end, I do want you to go in the comments so that it's going to be like posted underneath the video.
Okay.
So you tell me what to write, and I'll write it up here so I can scroll across the screen.
It is zionpromotions.com. www.zionpromotions with an S. ZionPromotions.com.
Okay.
And that's where you can find my book. It is a collection of poetry and short stories. It does kind of tell a story about my life and my experiences. It's broken out into 3 categories: relationships, religion, and the process of rebirth. There's also a 30-day devotional in the back of hard truths and inspirational quotes, things that can get you through a day. That's me. I could be found pretty much anywhere. Zion Promotions at Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. Zion Promotions.
Zion Promotions. That's simple.
Badu Lounge, though, is where I want to point you to. And we can also be found on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter. It's the Badu Lounge.
Threads. You want threads too?
Threads too. Yeah.
Look him up, y'all. He everywhere.
Yeah, definitely stay connected to the Badu Lounge. That's what's happening right now. Zion Promotions is going to be here. That's my baby. That's my heart. But I am walking in the fullness of Badu Lounge because that is the experience. And that is our signature to the events that we're going to have that are poetry based will be called the Badu Experience. And that's our goal, to give you something weeks and months and even years down the road to be saying, boy, when I was at this show, we had an artist here back in 2017 that featured for us at the convention center, at the Greenville Convention Center. And a lot of people didn't know who she was then. She won her first Emmy this week past. Oh, Grammy, sorry. She won her first Grammy this week past. Wow. So folks hit me up and was like, man, you remember that lady that was at your poetry show? She won it. And I'm like, yeah, like this is beautiful. It's not to brag or name drop. This is what we're here for, right? To get that recognition so that people know that this art form is an art form that everybody can enjoy. I know all of us have written a poem or two, whether it was that high school or junior high school crush we was trying to impress. It might have been a horrible poem, but we wrote it. You know? Right. So that's a really big passion of mine. So I just want to that local artists as well as regional and international and national artists alike are familiar with the Badu Lounge and the experience and what we're going to be bringing to this area.
I love it. I'm excited. Like I can't wait because I know how you do when it comes to your events. So I can't wait to experience the Badu experience. Another thing that I love to ask my guests as well is like what is your end game? Like I know you've been doing this for a long time. This is your passion. What's your end game with this?
I would like to at some point establish a place in multiple areas, right, where people could start, establish, and sustain this particular type business, because I honestly believe that the arts as we know it is one of the last like frontiers of freedom that we can experience. And understand what I say when I mean that. As a politician, you have to cater to your voters. Like if we keep it real, as a preacher, you have to cater to your congregation. You can't just veer off the path and say what you want to say or express your particular affiliations about politics and different things of that nature. Although some do, that's not the popular consensus. Poets are not bound to any of those laws. Like this is one of the true last platforms of freedom of expression that exist. You can talk about pretty much anything in poetry or in the form of spoken word, and you'll reach somebody. And I think it's very important that from youth all the way up to adulthood and even into our senior years, that we never lose our right, our ability, or our freedom to express ourselves. So I want to be able to establish spaces where people can do this in large cities and small towns, where you might have a passion to want to start something like this in your city, and I can come in and teach you the blueprint that I use to establish my own, so that we can create safe spaces and hubs where people can come and get this experience, where they might can't make it all the way to Greenville, but they can do it in their hometown. I want to ultimately be known for planting seeds that grew into safe places, shelters from storms and struggles, places that people could get free. And some folks will get that in church, and some people will never step their foot in church. But it doesn't mean that you can't bring it to them. Some people have this misconception that if it's not in the four walls, then God can't fully do his work. And if you read your Bible like I read it, most of God's work was done outside the four walls.
Church, I know that's right.
And so, it might be in certain art forms or different or varying degrees, but poetry to me is a gospel of it in and of itself. And it's a truth that people need to be able to attach themselves to and express. So that's what I ultimately want to do. I want to establish venues in cities all over where people can say, I got my start here, and look at what we've done. Look at what we've created in the schools. I want to get back to where we can go into the schools and teach children the beauty of poetry and the beauty of this art form and the way poetry is supposed to be written, and so many things that would build them up literally and figuratively. It's just, I don't know. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God saw that it was good, and then he spoke, let there be light. He was the first spoken word artist, right?
Yeah. Oh.
God spoke everything into existence. This is the power of words. That's the point I'm trying to make. Words are very powerful, right?
Very powerful.
Scripture teaches us this. Understanding words is important. It's critical.
Yes.
And giving people the freedom to be able to speak their truth is even more critical. So that's my ultimate goal, to be able to create those spaces for people.
That's beautiful, man. Like, I love that, and I hope I be around to see it, because I will be right here. I mean, I am all for that. I'm not the best writer or poet, but I did used to play around back in the day in high school, and I had a few things that I thought was pretty nice, but I might go back to write some things down, because it is a way. It's an outlet. A lot of people may not have people that they like to talk to, but if they can just get it out, it really helps. So I love it. I love it. Is there anything else that you want to share with people before we adjourn?
Not about me, but I would like to say to you and those who follow you that I'm proud of you. I admire your work. I admire your willingness to continue to press forward. There are a lot of people that don't have the patience to see a thing through. And I've noticed this about you since I met you, that anything that you put your hand to and you believe in it, you give it 100%. Some people can't do that unless it's a million people watching. But to have somebody that is fully committed to, whether it's 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people, you're not going to see the growth of what it is that you want to see if you don't have the discipline to do it in season and out of season. And I know you're committed to whatever it is that you put your hands to, and I know that it's going to flourish. And I respect it, and I hope that you continue on this path to give people an opportunity to speak and to be heard, because it's very important. And I respect that about you. So I just want you to know that you are needed and you are appreciated.
Oh my God. I'm a crybaby. You doing this?
Well, that wasn't the goal.
Okay. Oh my God. I am a crybaby.
Okay.
So much. Thank you. Cause I don't do anything for that.
Yes.
I do it because it's my passion.
Yes.
And I know you can relate because you're passionate about what you do.
Yes.
And my mindset is always, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it?
That's it.
Even if it's to help one person. So I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, because I admire and respect you and all that you do and all that you've been through. And so I know you're going to continue to be successful. This Badu experience is going to blow up Eastern North Carolina. It's going
Yes,
to
it is.
expand all across the world. And I'm going to be here for it.
Well, I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. I thank you for being so transparent. Thank you for being willing to come on and share with us. Y'all make sure y'all follow Lester Howard. Follow him. Look him up. Zion Promotions on all the social media platforms. And if y'all in the Eastern North Carolina area, I hope to see y'all at the Badu Lounge whenever you have that grand opening.
Yeah, it's coming. Give us a minute. Because I don't want to give a hard date, but I can tell you it's gonna be within the next 30 to 45 days.
So y'all got to be on the lookout now.
Yes. Oh, we go flood. We're gonna market and promote this like never before because it's necessary.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna get the word out. I appreciate it. I appreciate all you do. Viewers, I appreciate you. If you have not hit the subscribe button, be sure to do that. And I will be back next week. Same time, same place with a different face. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you.